Oh, yeah, that's your kanga tashi dele, tane kanga ya tashi pat positsubayo yirewachimoyo.
So firstly, Tashidele, greetings to all Dharma friends. Geshe wishes you all auspiciousness and all perfection.
Ta ngaroso mali yapoteta, mutse yapoteta, losa bangotsugi yare, losa bangun mine kazi toto sosingene ta, joa to tobachi soga yi so much, ta nganzo kangar kagandis.
So we want to make the most of our precious human rebirth, especially considering that this new year has now happened. And so what we have to do is we have to engage in the right sort of activities from our side to make sure that that is used efficiently.
Ta sosingene kazi toto powa chimboto, ta tani joa, ta tani chini, leka nyenen joa to ya somba chiwana joa to toji yo, ta si wore di yares.
So if we from our side have a brave attitude, have a courageous attitude to engage in the right kind of work, then definitely that transformation is possible.
Yes, what? Oh, the children start doing with the name. That so was there. Tang also Malita Chimbochito. I didn't know why you know so you get them batunja. They don't know you get them batunja.
So not only do we have this human rebirth, but we have also met that which is difficult to meet, the Buddha Dharma. And not only that, but we have met the Dharma, which includes both Sutra and Tantra.
Oh, that they mean I want that tell at the net, but Niji Kandisi Yaji to go do some mean I Yaji to have so Peto Momoyares.
And even if one necessarily doesn't accept necessarily all of those things, just to have access to the teachings on love and compassion, and on the basis of incorporating those teachings of love and compassion as a way of improving ourselves, that is still something that is very, very special.
Oh, that could you see in it, Nova Minare, Kandisi Nayo. So cheates on a Sosokiba. And it's also Yayagama to see Nayo, your Dameva, Kiwochi there, and Anzukangi, she did all the rest.
So whether we consider ourselves a Buddhist formally or not, when we hear the instructions, we want to implement them in a way that can improve our happiness, to implement them in a way that we can contribute to the happiness of, firstly, those beings around us who are meeting regularly, and eventually all beings, right? And the cultivation of the instructions is the foundation through which we can do that.
Oda Madu to the Sali Nayotan, Pemba Drabamato, Pemba Doton, Pemba Dragamato, never tennis me so much self Tembogiona, Tanakadina, Koki Wog, Shizochi, Isares.
And one of the important sort of foundations of happiness is to have this stable awareness, this stable wish in our mind. Any sentient being, whether human, animal, etc., I will only work for their benefit. And if I cannot work for their benefit, at minimum, I will refrain from harming them.
Oh, young Rosolojo Cheji in a Daniel Cheji in a Goja Cha Swate, Tendo Titanore was Sosokiba. And Sosokiba on the Mother Yeki, Tembochaga, the Lekachires.
So all the study that we do, every practice that we do, it is really all connected to this fundamental function, this function of helping us ourselves to be happy, but also being able to contribute to the happiness, to the welfare of others.
Oh, the Nutrient, that Tembo to Halia, Pita Bojin Rain, though. They would an attack Tashimajin Rogoyon.
And if we want to be able to practice this ideal and bring that to full stability, we can do that through the practice of sutra. But if we want to perfect that ideal to its very highest perfection, we also need to engage in the practice of Tantra.
Oh, Sunjitala Kebasho, Chipagay, the Jiko, the Miba Chaso Chinga is at the Mokoro Coral, Sul Pagay, to Karel Pagayona and Do. Dola Mama watching to us. Tiene Tenigma Lion Tak, Kotiba, Lagma Lion Pagas, called the Mipandamaraja is a Shaji, Sheji, Najoji, Najola Megaji, is and so Mundawachi.
So the Buddha taught his methods according to, there's like this nice Tibetan word, Kamdang Mupa. I think of it as like affinities and capacities, the various affinities and capacities of sentient beings. So according to this, the Buddha taught the many methods of sutra, and even within sutra, right, there are a variety of teachings. And then when the Buddha taught Tantra, also due to the different affinities and capacities of sentient beings, he taught these 4 classes of Tantra, right? Action Tantra, Performance Tantra, Yoga Tantra, and highest yoga tantra.
다 ngwa dejate o ndole umbo no ise yara ta ngazo te ise ne tanga yara.
So it is said that those to be subdued, in other words, the disciples of the teachings of Tantra, have sharper faculties than the disciples of the teaching of Sutra. So using that as a working assumption, I guess you could say Geshe is presenting these teachings on Tantra.
This one, that's what the Chire, Tango, and the Tato, so the Lamet and the Casababa, Kechamares, Lamelina, Loni, so here to Zurni was.
And if we are to speak of not so much connected with what we're talking about today, but if we are to speak of the highest of these tantric vehicles, it is the Anuttara Yoga, the highest yoga tantra. And then within that highest yoga tantra, it has two divisions, right? The Kirim, the stage of generation, and the Dzogrim, the stage of completion.
다 땡기네 때 단단한 조사지 또 이야테 이자 땡기네 때 야마레 되는 디차라고 되라 세제가 나죠 세매가 나죠 로니레스.
And so we are actually not giving a commentary on highest yoga tantra today, right? We're giving a commentary on Kriya Tantra or Yoga Tantra. And so Kriya Tantra doesn't really have the stages of generation and completion, but it has 2 points that are similar to those stages of generation and completion. The first of these is known as Senche Nejor, yoga with signs, and the second is Senme Nejor, yoga without signs.
하고서라와 어다 세제가 나죠 세매가 나죠 세리다 tum바니도 다니게 버게 저치 뭐야로 왔어. tum바니가 선지 예비티네나 아니 때때비 적고가 놓아 슈트라보 예바지라 저 세제. 하고서라와
Senche,
다 대슈트라보처럼 매발 돈이도 별로 대슈트라보 여비잖아라. 다 세매.
So if we were to give an example to illustrate these two yogas, the yoga with signs and the yoga without signs, we could say that when one is engaged in the practice, for example, of the deity and the deity's mandala, along with an awareness that the deity and the deity's mandala are empty of inherent existence, this is yoga with signs. When the mind has the deity and the mandala in the background, but is mainly focusing on that aspect of emptiness, that lack of inherent existence, this can be considered an example of yoga without signs.
백현자 세치요 말 백고대 오시바이나 나로스니라 밀라스쿠비가라 아니 다 버게 밀로다 뭐다 뭐지 도야지 도와스 세치니까 야 tum바니 저 지도도 요할 때는 슈트라보처럼 매발라 아니 라이 노아테지 슈트라보 여기까지.
So if we think of an easier example, we can think of the example when we're asleep. And sometimes when we're asleep, we have like very vivid or realistic dreams, right? And we see all of the images and the people in the dream. This is like the yoga with signs, right? We see the deity and the deity's mandala, and we're aware of their emptiness, but mainly we're kind of fixated on the appearance of the deity and the deity's mandala. Yeah. But when you really crash into a deep sleep, there's just that experience of sleep, right? You don't have those dreams. You don't have those appearances. So we can say that's similar to that yoga without signs, right? The appearances might still be there in the background, but the main thing that the mind is experiencing, right? That main experience, that main feeling is focused on that emptiness. So this is just a brief using easy examples to kind of point to the meaning of this, and hopefully later we can get to more explanation. So these two paths are really important, right? When we are talking about the practice, right? And we understand that those divisions of Anuttara Yoga, highest yoga tantra, the generation and completion stages, they aren't strictly speaking present in this practice, but we have these two practices that are kind of similar to that, which is the yoga with signs and the yoga without signs.
Penate tangata parangata para songata body soga sringanzo lo ngayo arwas.
So to put it in an easy way, when we think of the mantra from the Heart Sutra, Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Svaha, this is said to contain the meaning of the 5 paths.
Rova o ta tel pajawa ina cheche ge nanjo o cheche ge nanjo de tombo chulo ge nikare se ge ares chulo chunga ri chembo so yo arwas dikala cheche ge nanjo.
So if we think about it in terms of the 5 paths and we connect it with that, we could say that the yoga with signs relates to the path of accumulation, the small path of accumulation, the middling path of accumulation, and the great path of accumulation.
Ta yolo ni yango chuni zu te taina jetawa. Golom.
Gomlam. Loso.
Yolo, tolo, golo, so yaro, golo tamata archatu, ota lilawachina terwa.
Loso.
Semega nanjo te tipa titi seteres.
And so we could say that from the path of preparation then, up to the path of meditation, this is more connected with the yoga without signs. So in this way, we understand that in this 5-path presentation, then the yoga without signs, the true practice of it, right, is said to come from the path of preparation onwards. Sorry. Nganso tonglam dangjela dene senche dang seme keche yomarbe.
Seme res ngela sa songas jolo tolo golo sa te seme nikares.
Jolam gomlam ale.
Jolo tolo golo.
Tonglam gomlam. Okay, yeah. Sorry. I just wanted to make sure that I translated correctly when that yoga without signs is going. I'm pretending not to understand, apparently. Just being on the safe side, you know. So we're saying that from that path of preparation, seeing up to meditation, right? This is the yoga without signs.
This one. Ta ale tanda she jana de nganzo te sere nya de was. Khatso nganzo she de ate ane dijela tipisote.
Yep.
Akosarawa.
Yep.
Dijela mati patela mene dane ane data thabate waso was.
So yesterday also, just to go back, we spoke about the 2 concentrations or the 2 samadhis, right? The concentration with repetition or recitation, and the concentration without or not depending on repetition or recitation. And so then within this concentration without or not depending upon recitation, we have those 3 concentrations or samadhis: abiding in fire, abiding in sound, bestowing liberation at the end of sound.
Menege sote data thabate be sote sonduas te sote sechege nanjo.
And so we could
go to style. Yeah. Dijela tipi sote.
Oh, yep.
Menege sote.
Yep.
Janege sote sote.
So in this way, we could say that this broader category, dijudang chepe something, di tambo cherwa. So the samadhi or the concentration with repetition, with recitation, is connected to the yoga with signs. And then menegi something dang janegi something yang senchegi. And then concentration abiding in fire and concentration abiding in sound are also connected to yoga with signs. Concentration bestowing liberation at the end of sound is the practice that is categorized as yoga without signs. So if we have this map in our mind of these key points, right, then our practice is going to flow a lot more easily.
This one, or that nigger law, that nigger law, that you know, let you know, and the city little has on the salary.
And so if we practice these paths as explained by the Buddha, this is how it is possible to, in one lifetime, in one body, achieve the highest state of enlightenment Buddhahood.
Oh, that day, what Lame in Naruso Machi, this is Cortagarola. Hakosara, one legend of Sujisal, Roto, Tobach, Tobinets URS.
So, just to clarify here also, it is with highest Yoga Tantra, with the Anuttara Yoga Tantra practice, that within a normal lifespan, in one life, one body, one can go from being an ordinary being to that highest state of Buddhahood.
Oh, Tashaji shaging Aroso Tanda Shaji, Shaji, or console Matsechi, Aroso Matsechi, and Nolo Sujisal Rotoya Yabares.
But according to the other classes of Tantra, like Action Tantra, Performance Tantra, but let's focus on Action Tantra, our focus of today. It is not within that standard lifespan that one can achieve Buddhahood using this practice. Yeah. So if you can't do it within a standard lifespan, how can you say that the practice of Kriya Tantra, Action Tantra, allows you to achieve Buddhahood in one lifetime, in one body? Yeah. So it's on the basis of achieving, through the methods of this practice, a siddhi of longevity. Then based upon this siddhi, this attainment of longevity, one is able to prolong to a much longer lifespan, and thereby, through Kriya Tantra, we will achieve that a state of Buddhahood in one lifetime.
This way,
yeah, so that's really a difference in terms of what makes that attainment possible between, for example, Anuttara Yoga Tantra and Kriya or Action Tantra. It's one needs to attain that siddhi of long life to make that attainment of enlightenment through Kriya Tantra in one lifetime possible, whereas this is not the case with Anuttara Yoga Tantra. Yeah. So for those of you who really feel an affinity with Kriya Tantra, with Action Tantra, and that is really your practice, then you need to take a lot of long life initiations, and you also need to work on achieving this siddhi of longevity, right?
And
also, just as a general concept, like one body, one lifetime Buddhahood is possible. This is a source of great debate on the chura, on the debate ground in the monastery. So then when Lord Atisha was in Tibet, he was actually queried about this. Some students came up to him and they said, they say that it's possible to achieve Buddhahood in one body, one lifetime.
And
actually, Atisha gave a very clever answer. He said that it is possible within one lifetime, but not possible within one body. So what does that mean, right? That's a bit curious. The fact that Atisha distinguished this is really remarkable, right? Because we see within the teachings of the Tantra themselves, this is like a recurring theme, almost a motto, right? Buddhahood in one body, one lifetime. So why would Lord Atisha have made this distinction between, yes, in one lifetime, but not in one body? So actually, there's a reason behind presenting it both ways. In terms of Atisha's presentation, why he says not one lifetime, yes, but one body, no, is because the Buddhahood we attain can't be achieved on the basis of this ordinary body, right? We can't achieve Buddhahood based on that. Okay, so on the basis of the extremely subtle body and mind that we touch in the tantric methods, we give rise to another body, and that is the one that really achieves that state of Buddhahood.
So these
are just kind of like a nice conversation with a few interesting points to start out with. So these are the concepts, right? But the main thing is we have to do the work, right? We have to put in the effort. Tambo di ningi sacha kawayeres ane chua nipa di droma marpo dang droma karpo droma near chik nangola rebesa. Yeah, sela di ngang so nam ginti roa ane droma marpo chikere roa dinsunish sa chik nangola yeres ane nipa di ngang so ningi sacha kawayeres.
So the
first question that somebody had, this was sent to me by email, was the location of the heart within the body, right? Because we often talk about visualizing things at the heart. And so Geshe said that it's within the Tsauma, so that's the central channel, and like slightly back from the front of the body. And Geshe is kind of pointing to that place on his body where the heart would be. Hopefully you were able to say, so that's where it is. That's where it is. Like not quite before the rib cage starts. Yeah. So it's a bit interesting in the text, because when we visualize, right, and we visualize the Tsauma, the central channel, and the consciousness at the heart, it's kind of like slightly more towards the front of the body. But some texts describing the actual location say the heart is actually, it's kind of halfway point, but although halfway point, closer to the back than the front. So in terms of whether white Tara and red Tara are included within the 21, there are actually different manifestations of white Tara and red Tara. So it depends which one you are speaking about. So some of those manifestations are included, some of them might not be. But actually, the easier way to think about it is that these are just different aspects of Tara, but they are all of one essence. So they have these different aspects, but they're not so different. Like we don't need to focus so much on the differences. Yeah. And so, like, for example, if you're practicing the 21 taras, but mainly you're connected with the white tara, you can actually visualize the white tara as the central tara image when you visualize too. That's also okay. So yeah, just a brief conversation to start off with, and let us begin the prayers. So we'll begin with the praise to the Buddha. Shakya Dubala Shazelo Judo Kyam Suji Ho. So now we'll begin the sadhana, the gentle pathway to liberation from fear. O kind Lama, together with the lineage, you are the synthesis of the body, speech, mind, qualities, and enlightened activities of all the Tathagatas of the 3 times and 10 directions, source of the 84,000 collections of Dharma, Lord of the Arya Sangha. I go for refuge to the glorious root and lineage gurus. I go for refuge to the Buddha. I go for refuge to the Dharma. I go for refuge to the Sangha. I go for refuge to Aryatara together with her retinue deities. I go for refuge to the glorious root and lineage gurus. I go for refuge to the Buddha. I go for refuge to the Dharma. I go for refuge to the Sangha. I go for refuge to Aryatara together with her retinue deities. I go for refuge to the glorious root and lineage gurus. I go for refuge to the Buddha. I go for refuge to the Dharma. I go for refuge to the Sangha. I go for refuge to Aryatara together with her retinue deities. Songye chudon soge chunam la chanchu badu dani gyasu chi dagi jinso gibe di dagi drola penjir songye jubar shu Songye chudon soge chunam la chanchu bardu dani gyatsu chi dagi jinso gibe di dagi drola benjir sangye jobar shu sangye chudon soge chunam la chanchu bardu dani gyatsu chi dagi jinso gibe di dagi drola penjir sangye drobar sho. So we'll recite the 4 immeasurables. May all sentient beings be endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be separated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. For the welfare of all mother sentient beings, I must quickly, very quickly, achieve the precious state of fully perfect and complete Buddhahood. For this purpose, I will engage in the meditation and recitation practice of Venerable Aryatara. For the welfare of all mother sentient beings, I must quickly, very quickly, achieve the precious state of fully perfect and complete Buddhahood. For this purpose, I will engage in the meditation and recitation practice of Venerable Aryatara. For the welfare of all mother sentient beings, I must quickly, very quickly achieve the precious state of fully perfect and complete Buddhahood. For this purpose, I will engage in the meditation and recitation practice of Venerable Aryatara. The praise. So we'll do a visualization. And we'll do a short motivation. So let's just take a moment to settle our body and mind, to allow any disturbing, distracting thoughts to just dissolve away like a rainbow in the sky.
새 고로 그런 게 싸워 또 좀마 정말 유제 좀 해 비고 그런 게 다 되냐지 여보지요 손바지.
I think the true aspect, the true nature of the mind is pure luminosity. The stains are adventitious. It is not in the nature of those stains.
할래야 자침부터 되는 디사보그냐지. 야래 세코로그냐지.
And that mind's way of being, that purity and luminosity, that is something that is tremendously vast and profound.
손서 여보슈라 가지 자침부터 와이 다토그냐지.
And because of that fundamental nature, then it has this vast capacity to be able to bring those thoughts into that good direction, into that positive direction.
당하로수 쪼게야지 됐더니 가리 것이야 새 것이야 될 가리여서는 신지 통치가 길었더니 타비리요 바지바레 에서 대한 할래하게 됐지. 손바지.
And one of the thoughts that we can develop in order to activate this mind's potential is to recollect that all sentient beings, every last one of them, possesses the seed for liberation within. Every last sentient being possesses the seed, the potential for bodhicitta within them. There is no exception. There is no difference in sentient beings. They all have this potential. And in terms of that Buddha nature, the potential to reach that final state of complete Buddhahood, enlightenment, without exception, all beings possess that potential. And not only those potentials, but in terms of connection, if we think about it correctly, every last sentient being is close to us. We don't have a single enemy within that assembly of sentient beings. All sentient beings are precious. We can view them all as attractive with affectionate love. Every sentient being is close to us. I want to bring all those sentient beings who are so close to me to a state of lasting happiness, to liberation. In order to be able to do this, I must myself achieve Buddhahood. So for the purpose of all sentient beings, may I achieve the state of Venerable Aryatara.
가르레서는 가르소 아니 페도 메비 세 강갈로는 자대체마 때는만도 페도 예비 세 강갈로는 자대체마 단 자도만 보는 여바지레디스.
It is 100% certain that I can achieve, that I can actualize this state. Because the unwholesome minds that hold me back from it, we can say with 100% certainty, they are not rooted in valid reasons. The wholesome minds, the positive qualities I develop to attain it, they are 100% rooted in reality, rooted in valid reasoning.
가디나요 뽑아침보 가디나요 가와침보 같은 거 저기 선바지.
And so thinking this, then, with a brave attitude, with a joyful attitude, think, I must definitely achieve this state.
뭐야 이거지.
So we'll pause there.
Oh yeah. 맞이다 들어와.
Tadi Jangchugi Sem Ke Parchin, Droswan Rwata Tupadi. So we'll go to the praise section on page 2 of the sadhana. Ladan lamin chebengi shani bemo lazute omba gole donze man roma yomla chawzo Ladan lamin chebengi shani bemo lazute omba gole donze be roma yomla chawzo Ladan lamin chebengi Shani bemala omba gole dozebe Roma yola chonso. So now we come to the 7-limbed offering. To the exalted Arya, the noble lady Tara, and to all the victorious ones and their heirs, dwelling in all directions of the universe through past, present, and future, sincerely and enthusiastically I pay homage. I make offerings of flowers, incense, lamps, fragrant scents, and food and music and the like, both physical and imaginary, created by the mind. Assembly of noble ladies, please accept them all. All my negative deeds throughout beginningless time until today, the 10 non-virtues and the 5 with immediate reckoning, sprung from this mind that is driven by destructive emotions, I confess them all, each and every one. With a heart full of delight, I rejoice in all the merits of Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas, and every living being throughout the 3 times. I implore you, according to the temperament and mental capacity of sentient beings, please turn the wheel of Dharma, of all the vehicles, lesser, greater, and general, until samsara has been completely emptied. I beseech you, do not pass into nirvana, but look upon with your boundless compassion as we flounder in this ocean of suffering. May whatever virtue I have amassed become the cause of enlightenment for all. May I quickly, without delay or deferment, become an excellent guide to all beings. So then actually this is a beautiful prayer of these 7-limbed practices, which is wonderful to use, right, as sort of a preliminary to any practice that we do at home.
Oh, yeah,
So next we will turn to page 44 of the 4 mandala ritual, and we will recite the praises to the 21 taras. We'll begin maybe with the praises in Tibetan. Omaje zema bama jomala chaselo chaso joma nyama bamo jene geje lodan rama jiden sungen jige shege gesa jawala ne choma chasa tenge dawa kundu kanwa
wa gyani tsepe shema kama choda soba no gi radu chi raba ma chaze senu chini ke ki pimi chani namba ge ma chimba tsunju katu shiwa zeba santen chi nye ma chaze de shin sebe du do taye namba gyawa che ma malu paro shimba to pe gyawe segyu shinde de ma chaza tu da rahu ni ge dedang shudo no ka go ma jiden dimbo shagi ne de lupa me ne gupa ne ma chaze gyashe me la tsong pa shula na su wang shi che ma jumbo ro lo jiza na da ne je tsu chi ne ne de ma shasa chi 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 dang pe ki paro tu go ra do jo ma ye ken shaki ne de me ba ju ba shan do ba ma shan do tu re je ba che bo tu ge pa wo na ba je ma chi ji shan no cho ye den ze da wo to je ma le se ma cha se kong chu sun ze sha ge so me du ga na ba ge ma lu che ge ko lo ge pe rong ge ge ju so na chu ma cha sa rap tu ga wa chi pe u ge nu ge che ma be ma je ba ra je tu da ra ye tu da je de wan de ze ma cha se sa shi kyong we zu na dang je gu ba ni ma ni ma zhe wei you wei yi ge wan ge gong ba dang je nang ba zhe ma xia sa da wei dong bo oi ge yan ba dong ji shen dong ba ma re pe du na e ba me le da ba shen de ge ra ze ma jia ze ga pe ta me me da ba wei jing wei yu na ne ma ye gen yun gen gu ne go ge da ye gu ne nang ba zhe ma jia ze sa xi me la jia gi de ge ne ji xia gi do ma zhuo ye chen ze yu ge huan gi ren ba dun bo na ne ge ma xia ze de ma ge ma xie ma nyang en de ji che ye nie ma so ha wo dong yang da de be de ba chen bo zhong ba nie ma jia ze gu ne go ra ga we zha yi lu ni nang ba ge ma yu ge che be nga ni ge be re ba hong le zhong ma nie ma jia ze tu re sha ni de be hong gi nang be sa be nie ma re ra ma da ra dong be je je de su no yo wa nie ma jia za la yi cun yi nang be ri da da je sha na na ma da ra ni je pe ge ye ge du na ma le ba ni ze ma jia za la yi cun nang gyo bo la dong mi yo ji de ma gu ne go cha ga wa je ge zu lang yi len yan ba ze ma jia ze ni ma da wa ge be che ni po la ye ra ze ma ha ra ni jo tu da ra yi shin du zha be rim ne ze ma jia ze de ni su no ge be shi wei tu da yang da de ma de dang ro lo ne zhen zo no zhong ba tu re ra chu ni ma sa wei nga ji de ba de dong sha za wa ni ni shu za ji.
So we'll also recite once in English. Om, I prostrate to the noble, transcendent liberator. Homage Tara, swift heroic, eyes like lightning instantaneous, sprung from opening stamens of the Lord of Three Worlds, tear-born lotus. Homage she whose face combines 100 autumn moons at fullest, blazing with light rays resplendent as 1,000-star collection. Homage golden blue one lotus, water-born in hand adorned, giving effort, calm austerities, patience, meditation, her sphere.
Homage, crown of Tathagatas, actions triumph without limit, relied on by conquerors' children, having reached every perfection. Homage filling with Tutare, whom desire direction and space, trampling with her feet the seven worlds, able to draw forth all beings. Homage worshipped by the all lords, Shakna, Agni, Brahma, Marut, honored by the hosts of spirits, corpse raisers, Gandharvas, Yakshas, homage with her tray and pay sounds, destroying foes' magic diagrams, her feet pressing left out right in, blazing in a raging fire blaze. Homage to the very dreadful, destroyer of Mara's champions, she with frowning lotus visage, who is slayer of all enemies. Homage at the heart, her fingers adorn her with three-jewel mudra, light ray masses all excited, and directions wheels adorn her. Homage, she so joyous, radiant, crown emitting garlands of light, mirthful laughing with tutare, subjugating Mara's devas. Homage, she able to summon all earth guardians assembly, shaking, frowning with her home sign, saving from every misfortune. Homage, crown adorned with crescent, moon all ornaments most shining, Amitabha in her hair knot, sending out much light eternal. Homage, she mid wreath ablaze like eon ending fire abiding. Right stretched, left bound choice surrounds you, troops of enemies destroying. Homage, she who strikes the ground with her palm and with her foot beats it, scowling with the letter whom the seven levels she does conquer. Homage, happy, virtuous, peaceful, she whose field is peace nirvana, she endowed with Om and Svaha, destroyer of the great evil. Homage, she with joy surrounded, tearing foes' bodies asunder, frees with whom and knowledge mantra, arrangement of the 10 letters. Homage to Re with seed letter, of the shape of syllable, whom by foot stamping shakes the three worlds, Meru, Mandara, and Vindhya. Homage holding in her hands the hair-marked moon of Deva leg form, with twice spoken Tara and Pe, totally dispelling poisons. Homage to whom gods and their kings and the Kinnaras do honor, armored in all joyful splendor. She dispels bad dreams and conflicts. Homage she whose two eyes bright with radiance of sun and full moon, with twice Tahara and Tutara. She dispels severe contagion. Homage full of liberating power by set of the three natures, destroys hosts of spirits, yakshas, and raise corpses supreme Ture. These praises with the root mantra and prostrations thus are 21. Penyon gimunam chikroga vero. Sorry, dry throat this morning. Geshe says I always see my drink as of supreme importance. All right. Those again. Boom. So Geshe is just saying in this way, we've completed the praises of the 21 taras, and this practice of the praises of the 21 taras is something that is seen in as really important in the monasteries of all the Tibetan traditions in India, in the 3 seats and so forth. Often it is said that this should be accumulated hundreds of thousands of times. And there's a saying that in a good Tibetan family, there is not a single family member who hasn't recited the 21 praises at least 100,000 times. So really there's no doubt that if we practice Tara and we supplicate her, that there's no way that it is not possible that her enlightened activity manifests. And there's many examples of how it manifests. So there's a very important monastery known as
is Dzongkar Chöde. And at Dzongkar Chöde Monastery, they have several precious images of Tara. At least one of these is in a standing posture. And it was said that she actually stood up herself. And on the base of these holy images, great lamas from Dzongkar Chöde, they could like just converse with Tara, just like we're conversing now.
다티 로지티 라마스레 사자 그와이나 라마사 아침보치 사자전도 아침 로비까지라 당한 로레스는 로비까라 지도마 나원도 위에서 야로가르시 가레스
Jesun komate.
지도마
Marine sakyo koma.
지진가치나 사실은
So as far as Geshe remembers, this particular standing Tara, she stood up because a holy lama, Geshe thinks it was one of the Sakya treasons, one of the Sakya patriarchs. If he's unmistaken. He said, yeah, he's not sure, but if he's not mistaken, it was the Sakya patriarch went somewhere else. And so Tara said, I don't want to be left behind. And she stood up so that she could follow him.
로지지 what you are tene 우자가 개발 라마지 보기 주주가라 이즈도마 끝나지근다라 거로 시도이나 시도 주주들이 가시
yeah
때만다고 때마
로소
때마하고서
때마스나 디 사벤다보지
사벤다고 두두리들이 와서
로소
근데 거로 가시도 왔어 아니 그 이즈도마 다 거로 마상에 개발핀 이즈도마 기바자를 이즈도마 샤드니 전대가 이자 처음거는 마린도도 왔어
알레 로소 야
하고서 다 거로 가시 기자는 마린도 이자는 마린 차소 마린도도 왔어
알레 로소
레쇼 안드리자 되어 건좀 뭐로 왔어
레제 하고서
아니 차손도 차손 코를 매사르 이즈도마 라팔 매이즈 코미시쇼스 왔어
알레 로소 So there's another story that Geshe wanted to tell about Tara, an interaction between Tara and a great Indian Pandita, but when he was a child. So as a child, he was eating some sort of grain or some sort of small seeds, and he wanted to sort of offer these to Tara before he offered them himself. But as you know, in the images of Tara, one of her hands is kind of like going to the ground. That's the only hand that he could reach. So he would put the seed in her hand, but they would roll to the ground. And each time he tried to make the offering of the seed into her hand, it would roll into the ground. So then, being a child, he got really upset and he cried because he said, like, I can't offer anything to Tara and therefore I can't eat the seeds either. And so then it is said that being a special child, actually Tara interacted with him directly. From that statue, an image of actual Tara appeared. She handed him a piece of fruit and she said, do not worry, do not cry. Whenever you visualize me, I am there. And that lama, he became a very famous pandita. Geshe can't remember exactly which pandita it was, but he became a very famous pandita with Tara's help later in life. So the point here is that with faith and with our supplications, if we with faith make those supplications, there is no reason that Tara's enlightened activity cannot manifest. And also the story that Geshe was relating that His Holiness shared recently during the public teachings, which was that he was in a temple and then there was like a fresco or an image of the Buddha there. And it looked like just an image, but actually His Holiness had a vision where that image actually got up and offered him a piece of chocolate from the table in front. And so that's something that's not so far away in the past. This is something that happens now in our time. So, you know, that enlightened activity is still there. So now we'll offer the short mandala.
Idam Guru Ratna Mendala Kono Yadayami.
Tadajirwa.
Yeah.
Oma Sobawa Shuddha Sawa Dhamma Sobawa Shuddhoham.
Everything becomes emptiness. From within the state of emptiness appears a palm. This transforms into a lotus bearing the syllable A. A transforms into a moon cushion upon which appears my own mind, in the aspect of a green tam radiating light. Fulfilling the two purposes, it gathers back, and I arise instantly in the form of Kadaravani Tara, body green in color with one face and two hands. My right hand is in the mudra of supreme generosity, and my left hand at my heart is in the mudra of granting refuge. Between both thumbs and ring fingers are utpala flowers that blossom behind my ears. Adorned with precious ornaments and silken garments, I sit in the bodhisattva posture and am marked with an Om at the crown, an A at the throat, and the Hum at the heart. From the Hum at the heart, light radiates, inviting the wisdom beings similar to the one invoked from the Potala abode. Za, Hum, Bam, Ho. They become inseparable. The empowering deities grant empowerment, and Amitabha appears as my crown ornament. So that's the brief self-generation or front.
So Sobhava Shanda, Sobhava Shanda Jalabayina.
So in terms of this mantra, Om Sobhava Shuddha Sarvadhamma Sobhava Shuddhohang, Om Sobhava Shuddha is mainly pointing at the emptiness of persons.
Om Jalabayina, Garuso Sosol Jabayina, Dinga Isala Tenetapi,
and the Om is there at the beginning because it is pointing to the body, speech, and mind of ourselves, that body, speech, and mind upon which the I, the self, is designated. Sobhava has a connotation of the nature,
Sobhava Shada as an Taba Sigares.
Takpa.
Taba, Tagata.
Dagadak.
Rojiji Taba.
Ranjingi Taba. And Shuddha is like labeled. Bao Tagasata.
Tagatak. Tamatapa.
Ale. Sorry, Shuddha has the foundation of pure. Drima me parwa.
Yeah.
So pure, Geshe says here, pure of inherent existence.
Yeah. So
Sobhava is nature. Shuddha daparwa. So Shuddha is pure. So pure of true existence, pure of being inherently existent.
Yeah.
So it is said that there are two types of stains, the stains of inherent existence and adventitious stains. So this one is clearing the stain of that true existence. And that's saying that that self of persons, it does not exist inherently. It is not inherently existent. And because it is pure of that stain of self or inherent existence, then the mind can be transformed so that the adventitious stains, the adventitious defilements are also cleared away. If the mind were truly existent, right, if it existed from its own side, then this process of gradually clearing away those adventitious defilements, those adventitious stains, it would not be possible.
So
sarva dhamma means all of phenomena. So in this sense, all phenomena apart from the self, which we dealt with already, right? Yeah. Kasubaba senda nguma di rwa. So dag say di tanda di dag mayim pegi So here we're shifting the focus, right, from the selflessness of persons or the I, the self, to the selflessness of all other phenomena, aggregates, and so forth. And the sobawa, again, as we said, this connotates nature. And Shuddha or Shuddho here, Shuddha is that concept of purity, pure of existing inherently. So when we think this self that is not inherently existent, the I that is designated upon the aggregates comes into emptiness, and then this manifests as the wisdom truth body. So then everything becomes emptiness. That's thinking of oneself and the surrounding things and the environment. All of these dissolve into emptiness. And as we relate this to the 6 deities, this is the deity of emptiness, the first of those 6. So then as we continue, we will see that we then see Pamdang Arwa. We see that there is a Pam, and then that transforms into a lotus bearing the syllable A. Yep. So we think that this palm and the lotus and the moon cushion and so forth, that these are kind of emanating from the mind contemplating emptiness, just like a film projector or when you first turn your TV on. So we can think that mind cognizing emptiness appears as the letter Pam here. I'm sorry, I wasn't clear before. That mind cognizing emptiness appears as the letter Pam here. Slowly. Oh, sorry, happily. Okay. Slowly and happily both. And then slowly, then we think that this is a lotus. And then from that syllable, we once again this mind cognizing emptiness manifests an A atop that lotus. Slowly, that A transforms into a moon cushion. Finally, one's mind, specifically one's mind cognizing emptiness, takes on the aspect of a green letter tam. Janku. And it is green in color. Geshe is like blue or green, green. But it's funny, like the delineation between those two isn't necessarily so clear in Tibetan always, just in case you're interested. Yeah, so Geshe says sometimes they do speak of a blue Tara, right? And sometimes they speak of green Tara. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah. Ale, siben jongkuchik. So they eat, for example, Tibetans eat a green chili. It's green in color, according to, like, in English, we would say it was green, but they call this a blue chili for whatever reason. So just to be clear, this visualization is really, really important, right? This is an important aspect of the practice. So then that green tam radiates light, not just radiates light, but radiates that light into the 10 directions. Yeah, and then it fulfills the two purposes, it says. So here we think, firstly, that those rays of light make uncountable samantha badra type offerings to the Buddhas and the holy beings. Then those lights that are emanated, those also descend, touching all beings within samsara, including those beings in the 3 lower realms, purifying their obscurations of body, speech, and mind, and enabling transformation. And as we do these visualizations, we're aware that these are practices of accumulation and purification. So when we talk about the accumulation of merit from the sutra perspective, to complete that collection of merit takes quite a longer time than in Tantra. And part of the reason for that is that because in Tantra, we have these very powerful meditations of manifesting these light rays, making offerings and benefiting sentient beings and so forth. Yeah. So those are the dun ni, the 2 purposes, right? Making the offerings to the holy beings, benefiting all sentient beings. And then the light rays gather back. And there's a reason. When we arise as a deity, there's a reason for that arising, because we've already done a lot of things to complete the collections, right? Through that visualization. And that letter tam that we visualize, it's not just an ordinary letter tam. It is extremely vivid and powerful. It's vivid and powerful because of the causes that we've accumulated, because of the purification and the accumulation. And then we have arising instantly in the form of Kadaravani Tara. So that's green Tara. Kadaravani, I believe, refers to Tara of the acacia grove. I think Kadaravani means acacia grove. In case you're curious. So that's what it means. Geshe is now explaining that we say that her hue and that her qualities, they are like an acacia grove, or they are like an acacia forest, which has this beautiful, peaceful aspect and also this beautiful hue of emerald green. And another way of understanding Kadaravani Tara, Tara of the acacia forest, is to think that Tara cultivated in this, I said acacia grove, but it's really like a forest, a very, very kind of large forested area made out of acacia trees. And in that forest, there were many like carnivorous animals and things that were harming each other and so forth. Konda jesundroma shinak di gomne dene semchen nubeke gisemchen. And from Tara appearing and practicing in that Kadaravani forest, then the beings stopped harming each other, and all the sentient beings, all the animals were able to abide together peacefully. So that's a really beautiful, two beautiful ways of understanding the Kadaravani Tara. And the acacia grove, you know, you would think that that's just talking about the hue, the green hue, but it also has deeper meanings behind it. So we're reminded here of the 4th chapter of the Ornament of Clear Realization, the Abhasamayalankara, where it says that enlightened beings can manifest even as objects. They can manifest as water for beings struggling with thirst. They can manifest as bridges for beings who need to cross. So there's also all of these historic accounts of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, including Shakyamuni Buddha, taking forms of beings in the animal realm and then working to benefit the sentient beings in all those realms. So now we will do a brief meditation together. Sorry, nganso chupa puye den so drama song came into ra. So sorry, we will continue. We'll continue to the blessing the offerings. Om Amrita Kundali Hana Hana Huam Be Om Amrita Kundali Hana Hana Huam Be Om Amrita Kundali Hana Hana Huam Be Om Amrita Kundali Hana Hana Huam Om Amrita Kundali Hana Hana Hum Be Om Sobhava Shuddha Sarva Dharma Sobhava Shuddhoham. Everything becomes emptiness. From within emptiness, from syllables Om, arise precious vessels that are broad and vast. Inside them, the syllables melt into light and give rise to the offerings. Drinking water, water for the feet, flowers, incense, butter lamps, perfume, food, and music. They are translucent, unimpeded, and vast as space. Om Agam Padyam Pupe Dupe Aloke Gende Nude Shada Om Aryatare Saparivare Agam Padyam Pupe Dupe Aloke Gende Nude Shada Pradishahum Soha
La dan la min che pengi shani pe mo la de de bomba kule de zebe joma yom la jazo.
Devas and asuras bow down with their crowns at your lotus feet. I prostrate to the liberating mother who liberates from all misfortunes. Tangaksayagi. At my heart, upon a moon disk, there is a letter Tam, surrounded by a rotating mantra garland from which light radiates, making offerings that delight the assembly of Aryas, purifying the negativities, obscurations, and suffering of all sentient beings, and leading them to the Arya state. The light then collects the blessings of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, which absorbs into the mantra garland at my heart and bestows all attainments.
Yes, oh, yeah, that was I had no the same Matambotella. And a lot written to say,
So then, in terms of the mantra recitation, just to kind of go over some of those key points, we mentioned that like in the previous parts of the practice, we've gone through those 6 deities according to Kriya Tantra.
Oh, that DJ, she said to us, that wrong to Gani, Hagosara, or wrong said to need to be said the Yambala.
And so now we come to this 4-branched repetition, which is related to the mantra recitation. Geshe touched on this a little bit. So we imagine that from the self-generation, ourselves as Aryatara, light rays emanate from the seed syllable at the heart, and then a replica of Tara appears in the place in front of us. And then our mind, cognizing emptiness, appears as a moon cushion at the heart of the Tara generated in front of us. And so then at that generated Tara in front of us, our mind cognizing emptiness manifests as a Tam surrounded by the letters of Tara's mantra Om Tare Tutare Ture Swaha. So ideally, we just meditate for a few moments on this visualization before we begin the recitation. Then as we think about that, we imagine that from those mantras visualized, then there is the manifestation of the sound of the mantra, filling space. Om Tare Tutare Ture Swaha. And think that with this resounding Om Tare Tutare Ture Swaha filling space, we recite that together with that sound.
the jitsu drama, the tuga dai chako, the you sola, sonotonilla, Marusu Lukanga, Shalol Mandalan, and Pabipuga Tonchinipa, Domachini, Guanilla, and there is Maramana Tabagi was the necessary was good, Dawa, and you guess Yarwa.
Yeah. Then the younger Sonam, sorry.
The Domikuchi Yarwas, and a Daijiko Yarwa, and a deity in the Omtaretari Yarwas, there's a Tiji the Manila, Ronginong Lukanga, Shalom Maton, Guanadeo, somebody.
And so then imagining, focusing our attention on these three aspects of the body of Tara, the moon disk, and the syllables. Focus your concentration and hold in your breath, imagining that there is no breath exiting your body at all. And then we can think we're engaging in a mental recitation of the mantra at this point. Don't press to hold your breath if you can't manage, but we imagine that.
Lukanga Kwani, Kalakasana, Lushul Patumado, Mibanjawatonilla, Sosalai Batilamini, Lele Genitaris.
So if we're not able to hold the breath for too long after we kind of have to exhale, you can exhale and then you focus the attention of the meditation back at yourself as the deity, as the self-generation.
Lion Lushalandoa, the Guanilla, Mibasala, Mini, Mamanoji.
And then once again, when you breathe in, if you can hold your breath again, try to make sure that breath is not exiting the body, then you put your attention back to that front generation deity, moon disk, mantra. And you really have this feeling that not just am I holding my breath, but there's no wind element, no air exiting my body at all.
Kalakasana, Mibatin Jawatonilla, Ushal Patonilla, Mibati Jawajanilla, Soso Tamapa, Soso Sina, Telesonotonity.
And another meditation that you can do is once you get tired and you have to exhale, then you turn back the attention to yourself. But here you're not in the aspect of the self-generation, but you're in the aspect of an ordinary being.
Tayo Netsambatella, Uchi Notachi, Novicala, Dog Jitodoma, Daijako, Machedo, Jibate Nobala, Soso Shanima Shinilla, Shunganikal Pakas, somebody.
Tamapeka.
Marama, Soso Jitomarova, Ale. I don't know Tamabi Nomad Pasha. Uchi Novicala.
And then again, we can do another mental recitation. And as we breathe in and hold, we focus on those 3 points outside of ourselves. Then we turn the attention back to ourselves.
So Uchi Novicala, Jitodoma Tangdoli Arwas, Jizodomi Tuka Dai Jacotedo, Machetchi, so Uitedono Sosong.
And we can imagine that as we breathe in, the moon disk, letter, and syllables at the front generated Tara leave out her mouth and enter into our mouth, going down our channel and into our heart. Think that it has dissolved into my heart. And then again, we try to hold our breath, hold that blessing within as much as possible. And then as we breathe out, and once again, we're back on the self-generation, we imagine that that mundus, the letter, the syllables, we breathe them out, and they absorb into the mouth and down the central channel into the heart of the front generated Tara, the Tara in front of us. This is an aspect of the practice known as mental recitation. And now we'll begin the audible recitation of the mantra. That's also, and so the explanation of those different visualizations that you can do, that's quite important, right? So we can try to incorporate those. Yes, so Geshe was saying he didn't make these up himself, right? These are sourced in the scriptures, so very important practices of visualization and recitation. So we're going to recite the mantra and then come to more explanation. And I'm sorry, the light is making me very pasty. Om Tare 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 So 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 Om Tare 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 Om Tare 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 So 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 Om Tare 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 Om Tare 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 So 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 Om Tare 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 Om Tare 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 So 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 Om Tare Tare Om Tare 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 So 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 Om Tare 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 Om Tare 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 So. Oh, so Geshe said our actual retreat sessions are really easy. So we're done the recitation of the Om Tare 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 Soha. So we gave a little bit of explanation of contemplations we can do about the meaning of the mantra. Sorry, I'm very pasty and also the sun's in my eyes, so I need to close the blinds. My apologies. When there's difficult things to translate, other things to do. So, oh yeah, sorry. So it's not quite true. The sun really is kind of burning my eyes. Apologies. So in terms of the Om Tare Tutare Ture, this can mean a liberation from fear, a liberation from the 8 fears and so forth. Jipaje Danjoa.
onjipa jele trowa nedo tandriga sozo lejikange senjikange kandi jiyonayo ta kolonoji konela telegezitin patsuazo ya sono tona chisitinde yares.
And we can also think of the meaning of this mantra in terms of clearing away all fears, but also all physical and mental illnesses. And when we're contemplating this meaning of the part of the mantra, we can imagine that lights are emanating from the mantra, clearing away all the illnesses, the obscurations, and so forth.
어디서 어디다 소하사 되겠더니 게도 빠져 간가 파 셔와지도 게이츠 타다야 펴와지 손도 그 아레스.
And we can think when we recite the Soha and come to the end of the mantra that means that all of the obscurations and hindrances have been completely cleared away and all attainments have been actualized.
데레 다 다른 간주 고자대 간주 비바만 나와서 온다고 다스 떠더래야는 간주 걸어서 자서 와서.
So we also went through the different visualizations regarding the mental recitation and those 3 objects of focus. Thank you. I'm sorry. Did you guys hear anything of what I said previously? Okay, good. So worried about that. 건다 연결했습니다. So we talked about also 3 different types of visualizations as well as those 3 types of objects of focus, and we also related this to the practice of exhaling and also the practice of holding in the breath. And these meditations are not something that are without a source, right? These are sourced in the profound Dharma teachings. And also to actually engage in those practices, to really perfectly engage in them is not such an easy thing. So these practices are known as Sok, Sul, Dampa. So Sok is vitality or life force. Sul here is exertion or life effort. And Dampa, I would say, is like harnessing. So harnessing vitality and exertion. I would call this practice harnessing vitality and exertion. So the practices of harnessing vitality and exertion, you will find these in all 4 classes of Tantra, including in the Anuttara Yoga, highest yoga Tantra. But according to those different classes of Tantra, they have different implications. So emptiness, of course, is the main focus for much of the practice, but we want to pull in assisting factors, methods that will help to enhance that. Because to really focus on emptiness, we need to stop the mind from always going outward and stop the mind from being attracted to distractions.
And
it is said that part of the reason that we are driven to distraction is because when the winds are going outside, when we are exhaling, this can sometimes draw the mind outside towards distractions. So if we're really doing a high quality retreat connected with these teachings, not only do we want to practice the 4 branches of the repetition, but we also want to incorporate the vitality and exertion, the harnessing of the vitality and exertion.
amano pandoya la kasha tela la mega suso do masigyares.
So if we speak about this practice of the yoga practice of harnessing vitality and exertion according to Anuttara Yoga, highest yoga tantra, what does that mean? That means making sure we look at the three channels, the central channel and the channel to the left and the right of that, drawing the wind from the left and right channel and drawing all the winds into the central channel. That's vitality and exertion from the perspective of highest yoga tantra. Why do we do this in highest yoga tantra? Because by bringing those winds there, it is a way to activate the extremely subtle wind and mind at the drop at the heart.
Chalo mi pa sala mi ni la hakosa ro
chaju ro nejor gigyu mare chaju ro
chaju ro sanda tangite o ta ya tangi tomo ro ya te re su so domba de ani kale kha ge de le mi pa de pha ja lu shalo pa to ne la so so la le mi ya so so thama pa le mi ya hakosa ro o tani je wo jan do ya du was
the younger song
lu ka ni kale kha so na lu pha to ge ro was
yeah
lu pha to ne la mi pa de pha ja
yeah
so so la yin ba de so no de la de
ji loso ani thamapa impe kapala samla thang khare dutse bejor kola samla thang
ate chuna ale de mo chi to mo so so lele so so no ji rong ba de nga isa de lele ro.
So in the practice of Kriya Tantra, when we exhale, when we breathe out, that's when we can take a break and then focus on practices related to our aspect as our ordinary self or focusing on ourself as the self-generation.
하고서 다 미파슴바 tel라 야 릴라 와서나 만디 파이체 너 지지 좀 투가 나이디 돼도 마테데 예제가 넘바 소소 카네 마슈 샤네 마슈에라 소소 투가라 버게 데아테레스.
And then that third practice, so we have that I'm just going to go over just to summarize that practice of the deity in front. You have the deity, the moon cushion, the syllables, that practice of focusing on yourself, either as self-generation or visualizations with you in ordinary form. And then the third practice is this practice of both those taras, the self-generation and the front generation, the moon disc, with the seed syllable and mantras going out of the mouth and coming down your mouth into the central channel, absorbing into the heart. So these are, it's kind of an easy, open-minded explanation of these three methods of visualization here. So the hardest of these practices, obviously, is the one where we are holding the breath. And it is said that no air exiting out of any hole at all. So that's said to include the pores, including the pores of your skin. There's not even wind element coming out of there. So just to get a general idea at first, and then slowly, right, we can familiarize and explore more. Yeah.
Ani gochmandra smandra so yare.
Ngomandra, sulmandra, ani
dimandra gombiti.
Gombe tunsena?
Gombiti se saja.
Loso. So in terms of the differences between the practices of vitality and exertion in highest yoga tantra and also in terms of action tantra, it's a difference in essence, a difference in timing, and a difference in the tsul, the way or the mode of practice.
This one, that did it titola, and you ta titola, and menegasote, danegasote, and the data tabatebisote.
And then if in addition to those practices, you can also spend some time on concentration, abiding in fire, abiding in sound, and bestowing liberation at the end of sound, this is also very good. Yeah. So then in terms of the concentration abiding in fire and the concentration abiding in sound, they're similar in that they're both utilizing the mantra, but the concentration abiding in sound, right, it's that flame aspect of the syllables of the mantra. So you're mainly focused on the visual aspect, right? The aspect of those letters. Whereas the concentration abiding in sound, you're not worried about the visual object of the letter, it's more about the sound of the mantra.
다시 따도 되는 것이 자더니 드리시다 먹이서 가서 뭐 다사라와.
That's right. So then we don't need to explain the visualizations connected with abiding in fire and abiding in sound because Geshe explained those in the previous 2 days. So you can go back to those videos if you need to. They're on YouTube.
다 소소 지즈 도마 다 야도야 지즈 도메 ngor시에 되어라 왔어.
그래서
아시아체 다디 투갈라 롱게 투갈라 하고서 롱게 세토니 도베 세대 연발라 노바테 거기 매점바와지 손을 보카레스.
So, okay, Geshe is doing a brief review. So when self in the aspect of Tara, in the aspect of the self-generation, then we imagine that at one's heart space, so ningi sachadi meyer, there is fire.
This one, that meeting no wasatani, or so saya karina mate.
And then that fire takes on the aspects of the syllable of the mantra of whatever deity you're reciting.
This one, that they trigda no chipagresmia, Dutch togyo, datogyo, sonotonita, so yidishares.
And then one imagines that from that mantra, then the sound of the mantra is filling space. And then one can shift one's attention to that.
This one, tate, Timija Benigas, that Danigas of the Talasosa Domashiva Chiparas, the Tugalatani, Daichi coaches on the.
So then the visualization, starting from the beginning with the abiding in sound, we once again appear as Tara, Mechikiribi. Jetsundromarwa.
Jitsundroma to move me. Tososo Jitsundromarwas, the Tugalatani, say, Stuni to say Yambala, Nomba Daichi Kotombo.
And then so we imagine that at our heart as a Tara, our mind thinking of emptiness, it manifests first as the moon cushion.
This one, that eat in the Tenemeche.
And then the fire manifests.
This one, the no Latani is a domingo sono toyachi, one sono toyachi.
Megi nangula, dromagiku, yamina, dromaginga. And then within that fire, you can visualize as the preliminary either the mantra or an image of Tara herself.
That tells on to the Achi, the Nilva, and then what Konzo would da. Tej Pajani, me back those mother Paja, and it Dajibo Trabaji.
And then you imagine that the sound of Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha begins to be emanated, and then you cut the attention on the visualization completely. You cut the attention on the visualization completely and you focus on the sound. And so we can see that, there's different ways of thinking about abiding in fire and abiding in sound, different presentations, but hopefully you have a taste for these. And really the ultimate function of these practices is to be able to achieve the union of shamatha and vipassana, of calm abiding and special insight. But really to become skilled at these practices of visualization and so forth, we really need to have an idea of emptiness, an idea of the emptiness of the self and also of the surrounding phenomena. So once we have become skilled at the concentration abiding in fire, the concentration abiding in sound, then we have buttressed those practices of calm abiding and special insight. Then the mind is very easily able to focus single-pointedly upon emptiness, and then the practice of the third concentration, the third samadhi unfolds, the concentration bestowing liberation at the end of sound.
Ota tiniwa joloniwa was jolo de tulo golozo yadoya kangalolo ta data tabati bisote tumani rongtun ta shujayares.
And so then from the concentration bestowing liberation at the end of sound, gonda jata taba derwe samten di jorlam ne that practice of concentration bestowing the liberation of at the end of sound, that is the main practice from that path of preparation up until the path of seeing.
And the
true antidote, which is able to completely eradicate the causes of samsara as well as the imprints or latencies left behind by those causes, is this final practice, the concentration bestowing liberation at the end of sound.
So that
will conclude the explanation of those for today. So Geshe hopes that through this explanation, through this exploration, you have like a foundation that you can use for your practice, and then with your sessions, right, you're building the structure on top of that. So that's his hope. So it's important also to understand these various practices as they relate, for example, the harnessing of vitality and exertion as it happens in Anuttara Yoga, as it happens in Kriya Yoga Tantra. Gonda the yoga with signs, the yoga without signs, and also samadhi relying on recitation and samadhi not relying on recitation. And also remember the concentration with repetition or with recitation. This has those 4 branches of repetition. And to read out those 4 branches, I'll just read them out quickly. Self is the basis of training, others is the basis of training, mind is the basis of training, and accomplishment is the basis of training. And self is the basis of training, right? The first of those 4, the main facet of this is the 6 deities, one arising as the deity and so forth. And then the other 3, they are involving 2 objects of focus, either the focus of the letters of the mantra itself or the sound of the mantra. And then the concentration not depending upon repetition, this is those 3 samadhis abiding in fire, abiding in sound, and bestowing liberation at the end of sound. And so as also according to the 5 paths, remember the samadhi with repetition, as well as these first 2, concentration abiding in fire and concentration abiding in sound. These are mainly connected with paths of accumulation up to preparation. And then the concentration bestowing liberation at the end of sound is from the path of preparation forward. Yeah, so all the way from that path of preparation right up until the path of meditation, it is the concentration bestowing liberation at the end of sound, which is the main practice. And then also just to remember the importance of these practices of vitality and exertion, specifically harnessing vitality and exertion. Miloplam karila gyores. Karin san nganso gomlang dong tomlam bardu chigyores.
Malolo gayam de tela tene malolo tota sonji satane golo gayam do.
So I was just asking Geshe because we talked about the paths of accumulation up to preparation, right? And then we have the, it's like actually really not fair that I get to ask questions and that your guys' questions aren't coming, is it? But anyway, sorry about that. So we have the paths of accumulation and preparation. And I said we had preparation up until we were saying like meditation and seeing. So I said, well, what's happening after those are completed and you're working up to no more learning? And he says, well, the path of no more learning, you're a Buddha already. Right? So it's those practices of reached completion. Then you're already Tara. So that's a good thing, right? So that's the good end of the story. Yeah. So we all hope for that, right? So thank you very much. That will end the remarks, and we'll just close off the rest of the sadhana. So the praise to Tara. Greatly compassionate, venerable mother, please purify the obscurations of myself and limitless beings. Help us to quickly complete the collections and attain perfect Buddhahood. Om Padma Sattva Samaya Manu Om Padma Sattva So now we'll go to page 11 and we'll just go straight to the request for forgiveness. Whatever was incorrect due to not finding, knowing, or being able to do, I request you to be patient with all this. Whatever omissions or additions or any parts of the ritual that went wrong, and whatever I forgot to do, please be patient with this as well. Requesting the deity to remain as you dwell together with this base for the benefit of sentient beings. Please grant health, life, power, and everything supreme. Om Supratishte Vajraye Soha. Vajramu, the wisdom beings depart to their natural abode, and the commitment beings dissolve into me. So now the dedication. Venerable Tara, please increase the lifespan of myself and all other sentient beings who are as vast as space. Please prolong my lifespan, pacify all sicknesses and spirits, and please purify all negativities and obscurations. Please help me achieve the common and supreme siddhis quickly. Having realized correctly the holy dharma of the entirety of the sutras and the 4 classes of Tantra, may I advise others and strive to uphold the victory banner of proper practice until samsara is empty. Through whatever virtues I have amassed by venerating the Bhagavan, may all sentient beings without exception be reborn in the land of ultimate bliss. So now we'll do the prayers at the conclusion of teachings. Changshu Senju Rinpoche Maje Banam Jeju Rechi Jeba Nyamba Meba Yang Gune Gundu Bewar Shu Tongni Tawa Rinpoche Maje Banam Jeju Rechi Jeba Nyamba Meba Yang Gone Gondu Bewar Shu Jambe Bao Jidar Kemba Tam Kundu Zambo Deyon Dejen Deda Kungi Jesu Dalo Chir Gewa Dida Tamshe Rabdu Mo Dusu Shebe Gyawa Tamshe Ge Ngova Gangla Chodu Ngaba De Dagi Geve Tsawa Digun Kyong Zambo Chechi Rabdu Ngova
Gangri rawe kowe jingande pendang dewa male jongwe ne chenre ziwan tenze gyatso yi shape sinte badu tenjo reji tupsu jang jang gewe Tenzin kyom pewe gunzo do borze chok sun ko wele mon jujub pa da so du che gondo shate
Through the merits that we have accumulated, may the teachings abide for a very long time, and may all migrating sentient beings achieve happiness. May the lives of all of the holy masters, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and whichever of the teachers you are connected with, may their lives be long and their activities continue without obstacle through these merits. May the wishes of the holy beings be accomplished exactly in accordance with their intention. There are even beings who perhaps they are not realized in the sense of being holy, but they are completely committed and working towards the benefit and welfare of others. May they also have long lives and continue their activities to benefit beings with no obstacles. May the religious traditions of this vast world abide in harmony. May the different peoples of this vast world abide in harmony and peace. And through all sentient beings being able to abandon unwholesome or evil thoughts, may they practice virtue, and hence may the sun of happiness shine on all beings without exception.
Oh yeah.
So thanks very much.
Yeah. Oh, I do so.
So thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, so Geshe,
said there is a one more session left in the retreat, but this is the last session that he will share with you. So thank you very much. He wishes you a good new year. So please feel very fortunate that together, especially as it relates to Kriya Tantra, to Action Tantra, we were able to put an imprint within our mind as to the structure of the essential points, the paths of this practice. So thank you very much, and we wish you a happy new year with all success. Take care, everybody. Thanks so much.
Everybody's muted, so they didn't say goodbye, but I'm sure they wanted to.
Bye-bye. Goodbye. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much. Doma, Marjorie, Annie, Manoshi, Andrea, Carol, Martha, Suzette, Dekili, Emily, Chris, Jose, Carlo, Emily, and Pavi. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.